everybody, welcome back to another installment of T.C.B. Garage. It is a beautiful day in Central Ohio. We got the Corvette out. We're taking a nice little spring cruise. Spring is finally here. Spring is finally sprung. But what we're going to do real quick is this is going to be the start of our transmission swap video for the 204R. So we're going to take the Corvette out. We're going to do a little comparison right here. So I want to show everybody what the RPMs are at 70 miles an hour. I know they're around 3,000 RPM. That's the reason I am doing this change, getting rid of this Turbo 400. So yeah, we're going to go skid her up to 70 miles an hour. Hopefully everybody can hear me. And let's see where she's at. After I take a short little drive, enjoy this day. We're going to work on getting this transmission out, and then what we're going to do is when we get done, we're going to see what the big difference is. See how much your RPMs drop, see how much more drivable this car is. So, alright, I'm going to take a quick drive, and then we're going to be back at the garage. Alright everybody, so we are back at the garage. We're working on getting the 204R put into the Corvette. I've already sort of jumped ahead a little bit. So get underneath here, we'll show you what's been done so far. Already drained all the fluid out of the transmission pan. Already disconnected. Try to get a little light over here. Alright, so I've already disconnected the transmission shift linkage right here. The pan's totally empty. You want to drain all your fluid out of it before you pull it. I've already removed the dust cover from the torque converter. And right now I am working on getting the drive shaft bolts removed here from the front yoke and from the back here. So we're going to go ahead and take this out real quick, and then we're going to move on to our next steps. So we got the drive shaft removed, as we see right here. There's our front yoke, nothing back there. So what we're going to do now is we need to remove our cross member here. So we are going to start unbolting our exhaust here and over there. So let's jump into that. Alright guys, so we got the exhaust. Well, let me work with my light in here. We got the exhaust loosened. I got loosened from the headers. What you're going to do on your car, it could be a little different if you're doing this on your C3. Your exhaust is probably going to run through these holes right here. Mine doesn't. It's actually ran underneath it. It's ran a little funky. So I don't think I'm going to have to remove my exhaust, but I loosen it up so I can have access, a little bit of clearance to get the cross member removed. But we're going to move on to the cross member. So one of the things, first things you want to do is you want to loosen up your transmission mount right here. So that black thing right there, that's my transmission mount. What you're going to find is you're going to find the two bolts that hold it to the cross member right there. So we're going to go ahead and remove those real quick. And then we're going to remove our remaining bolts. Alright, so now we're going to go to the side of the cross member. You go have a through bolt right here, nut on this side. The bolt head is going to be over here on this side. So you can't see. Alright, so it's right there. So you're going to take nut off the other side, then you got a side bolt on each side right here. This other side's the exact same. So you're going to take off the through bolt, the nut, and then you're going to take off these two side bolts going into the bottom of the frame. And then the other side is going to be the exact same thing. So we're going to take these out real quick. We're not going to remove the cross member yet because we got to get a jack underneath the transmission. But I'm going to take this lower bolt out and then loosen up this one. And then once I get the jack underneath it, I'm going to go ahead and raise it up. And then we should be able to drop this right out. Alright, so let's work on that. Alright guys, so I'm sort of getting ahead of myself a little bit. What we're going to do is we got the transmission mount bolts out. Right up in here. We're going to leave the cross member in. So we still got to get the torque converter bolts out off the flywheel. And we got to remove the starter. So we're going to take the starter off right now. You want to take these two bolts off here. Starter's going to drop down as the whole assembly. And then we'll get the wires off the solenoid up here. So let's work on getting that dropped down real quick. And then we will work on getting the flywheel bolts out. Alright, so once you get your starter loosened up and removed, just take all your wires, move them out of the way. Now we're going to be concentrating on the flex plate and the torque converter bolts. Right there. We have 3 of them. So what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to rotate the engine around, take each one out. That will free that up. Then once we do that, the only thing we're really going to have holding anything in is going to be our bell housing bolts going up towards the engine and the transmission right here. And we've got our lines. And that should be about it. We've got a little vacuum line right there. We'll just pop that off while we're down here. So alright, let's get into taking these 3 bolts out. And then we should at that time be able to drop down our cross member, get a jack underneath the pan here, and lower the back of the transmission down, which should give us a little better access of getting into some of them bell housing bolts. So, alright. Alright guys, so that's all it is. It's the 3 bolts. Easiest way to know you got it free is torque converter is going to spin and your flywheel is not. Alright, so like I said, all we got now left to do is lines right here. If you can see, we've got the 2 lines going in, and then we're going to pull the converter, or pull the cross member out, and then we just have the bell housing bolts. So yeah, not much left to get this old Turbo 400 out. Alright, so hopefully nobody is going to be too upset, but as we can see, we have got the cross member out, laying right here across the car, and sort of jumped the gun on you guys, and we have the 400 out, sitting right here next to the 200. The only thing I had left to do was to pull that cross member, take out the bell housing bolts, and most times on almost any car, the bell housing bolts are a pain. And I'll tell you what, anybody going to do this on C3, C3s are really a pain. When I put the engine and transmission in the car, I did it as a complete unit. It was all bolted together, so I sort of expected it was going to be a little bit of a pain. But man, I'll tell you, there's some tight tolerances there between the bell housing bolts and the transmission tunnel of the car. But it is out. And I just wanted to show everybody real quick. It's the main reason I went with the 204R is because the dimensions are almost exactly the same as a Turbo 400. As you can see here, we got both the bell housings lined up. Our our shifter stud or whatever rod is on the same side. Everything lines up. And then we could look back here where our transmission mount is, the rear mount. It's right there, where this one is right there. If I scan out, you can see they're pretty much even. And I think the transmission, the 204, is just a tad bit shorter than the 400. So it makes it a pretty direct swap. I don't have to worry about getting the drive shaft cut or anything. That's the main reason I went with the 200 instead of the 700. I think the 700 is a tad bit longer. I think it's maybe 3 inches longer. So I would have had to get the drive shaft cut, would have had it welded. So I didn't want to take on the extra expense of doing it. So that's why I went with the 200. So yeah, the 400 is out. We got to get the 200 in. And I am going to put that on another video because with that one we have to hook up the cable, bracket. We have to put on the other bracket for the carburetor for the Holly. So I want to go into more detail with that. You also have to make sure you adjust the cable correctly. If you do not adjust the TV cable correctly, you will burn up your transmission. Your line pressures will be too high, from what I'm understanding, and you can burn out your transmission rather quickly. So we're going to go into more detail on the next video that will be the install. So that's going to wrap up this one. I want to thank all the new subscribers. Right now the channel is sitting at 640 subscribers, so I'm really happy about that. Thank you to all the new subscribers. Welcome to the channel. I hope you enjoy the content. And to everybody else, if you like the video, give me a like, get a share the video. That'll get out there to more people. So yeah, everybody have yourself a good one. I'm gonna go in and get a shower. As we can see, it is dark out, so it's been a long day out in the garage. And look forward to video number 2 on the 204R installation and a drive down the road. All right, everybody, have a good one.